Hey, John.
Hey Charles, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good.
Not much going on. Quiet day today.
Well, I wish I could offer a higher level of excitement, but
Well, I'm really not complaining.
okay. Okay. Well, the fact is, yeah, probably won't be terribly exciting today. You and Armando are really the only two people who submitted anything
Well, nobody, and he's not, I'm the only one here.
so far.
Wow.
There's you and me. That's it.
Getting close to the holiday.
It is. It is. And you know, yeah, everybody's trying to get ready for, you know, Thursday, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I've already done my part.
Okay.
I've gone to the liquor store and I bought myself another bottle of that brandy that I like.
Ah,
I'm going to take it over to my brother's for Thanksgiving. And other than that, I made a big jar of homemade gravy
mm,
to go with the turkey or whatever kind of meat he's having and stuffing. So
that sounds good.
yeah, yeah, that was
But
an easy thing to do. That, and I'm
yeah,
going to put together a salad. So that's going to be my contribution.
where is he?
He's in Winder.
Oh, Wonder. Okay, that's not
Yeah.
too far.
No, it's about an hour drive
Yeah.
out there. So, and my son is coming down with his significant other, and so we're going to hang out there for a day or two.
Oh,
And
sounds like fun.
yeah, should be. How about you? What's your plan for the holiday?
Going out to dinner with some
Okay.
friends.
Okay.
So that's been a tradition for a number of years,
Hmm.
with a little hiatus during the COVID. So this is the first time back since before COVID. So it's
Okay.
nice. We're going to uh, what's it? Chibo Ibrebe.
Hmm.
It's an Italian restaurant on Russell Road. You know where the Kroger is at Fountain Oaks, just inside the perimeter.
Oh yeah. Okay. Hmm.
There's a Kroger there. This is across the street. There's a little rural. There's a couple of restaurants. There's a
Right.
actual real butcher shop, and
Right. Yeah, I've been
uh,
in that butcher shop. I've gone in there to buy meat before,
yeah.
um, on occasion. They tend to be a little bit on the pricey side.
Yes, I'd say a lot on the prices. But
Yeah.
I think, but you get a good cut of meat if you're looking for a really good cut of meat. I think,
Yeah. Well,
uh,
I think all they sell there is USDA prime,
yeah,
and most of that is grass fed, grass finished. It's not,
right,
from a stockyard. So
right,
yeah.
right.
So
So that'll be fun. It'll be
yeah.
turkey and all the treasure. Here comes
Okay.
Armando.
Oh, okay. Well, who knows? It you know
Maybe boys' night out here.
it might be, and that would be fine too.
Hey,
So
Armando.
Hello.
how you doing, sir?
All right. Y'all got here. This is the third time that I try. I said, well, they forgot his class today.
No,
No. Oh.
no, nobody forgot. We're here. We didn't go anywhere.
Mhm.
So how are you doing today?
Oh, wonderful. It's a beautiful day outside.
Yeah, it's a little bit cool, but it's not bad.
Yeah, that's nice. I was out for a little while.
It's not that cool. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. While
We're only three. Where are the other people?
Yeah, nobody's here.
well, I wouldn't say nobody. We are, but no one beyond us, yes. Um, while we're waiting for more people to, shine on or sign on, Rebecca sent in something that's pretty entertaining and very, very artsy. Let me share that with you, okay? And
Alrighty.
I think you guys will be amazed, actually,
Okay.
because it's pretty interesting stuff, really. Let's see, do a share. And let's see, close that window. Close that.
And it's that.
All right, I'm going to open this up as much as I can so you guys can actually see what's going on with it. And okay, just sit back and watch. It's kind of interesting.
And a person. Hmm. Oh. Yeah. Very, very creative.
So
Look to me like at the Cirque du Soleil. Or the
well,
Soleil, whatever.
it's I've been to several like body paint shows, and
Mhm.
with all kinds of different performances, but that's kind of what this is. This is body painting, and then of
Oh.
course they're giving you an optical illusion, by contorting their bodies into a shape that resembles something else, but it's interesting stuff.
It really, really pretty wild. Sort of creepy, but
Yeah. It is.
I cannot do it because my belly, but well.
Well, I don't know. I think you probably could. That gives you more surface to become a turtle or something like that. Yeah.
right.
They seem to do.
Well, first, to imagine that and come up with the concept, and then the makeup, and then the form, it's brilliant.
Well, yeah. Yeah, just trying to figure out, yeah, how you're gonna contort yourself with you and maybe another one or two people, like the wolf,
Right,
for example. There were what, 4 people in that?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And they
crazy.
each kind of did a part of it. And yeah, it was interesting stuff. So anyway. Hi, Susan, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Oh, we're just entertaining ourselves while we're waiting for people to show up. So,
Okay.
um,
No, I'm not the only one that's late today.
oh no,
Um,
no. Actually, Rebecca Pinkney sent that in, that little video. But I thought I wanted to share it because it was, pretty entertaining. Anyway, I guess we'll get started. We don't have a lot. Did you send anything in, Susan?
Me?
Yes.
Yes, I did. This about 12, about 11:30, 12 o'clock today.
Oh,
Did you not get it?
I did not.
Again?
That's why I wanted to
Well,
ask. Yeah.
Should I try to I'm gonna have to go out of the class to try to resend it. Let me,
Hang on
I
one
just
second.
sent what we did.
Hang on one second. Let me check again.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I just checked it before I opened up the class, and I didn't see anything at that point. No, that's
I told you I was gonna be late.
right. Okay. Let's
In
see.
the email too.
Yeah, the only thing. Yeah, the only thing that came in was the piece that I just showed, and that was from Rebecca. I didn't get anything from you.
Okay, so I've got to go out of the class though and do it on this tablet, so because it's attached to my tablet. Okay, I'll be back.
Okay, well, and look, what I'm going to do is I'll wait until you come back, and we'll start reviewing the work, and then somewhere about halfway through, I'll go check the email again and make sure, to download it for you. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know
So-
what's going on, but because this is the second time. Last week you didn't get it.
Second or third, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It seems to be an ongoing issue. All right. Bye. I'll see
Okay.
you in a bit.
Okay.
All right. So while we're waiting, well, that's gonna.
Are you going to discuss and show us what you did with the water soluble charcoal? Or graphite?
I wanted to, yes. And I started looking around through the files, and I can't get my hands on the images of that because they're from a couple of years ago. When we were at Benson, we were using them. So I'm having to track those down. But I'll tell you what I am going to show you. And maybe what I'll do is I'll do that while we're waiting for Susan to come back.
Did you get my attempt? at that?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I got yours and I got Armando's.
Okay.
Okay. Like, for example, this is Armando.
No,
Okay. And we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to wait for Susan to come back so you can.
I don't know who did it, but
Charles, I am hearing you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It says cscogginsart@gmail.com. Is that the right address?
No, it's
Well, where
Charles.
is that coming?
Well, that
Um,
is my personal email address.
Well, I don't know where that came from because usually I put your name in and it pops right up at the right email. So it's Charles Scoggins.
It's Charles.Scoggins, Scoggins, @ Fulton County GA.gov.
Okay, let me try it now.
Okay,
Let's
well,
see.
that explains why it didn't show up in my county email. Because you didn't send it there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how that happened because usually it goes automatically to you.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
okay, I've just sent it to the right one, I guess. Okay,
Okay,
I don't
All
know
right.
where that one came.
all right, well, now that you're here, okay, like I said, I'm gonna give Armando a chance.
Elizabeth, I don't know who is Elizabeth.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, that was in the bottom, yes, and it's a nice painting. I like it.
Are we looking at your tree?
No, you're showing some kind of.
Oh,
Well, we see almost medieval looking, look almost
okay,
like
okay,
colored
yeah,
pencil.
I'm sorry, that's the wrong screen. Okay, yeah, all right. All right, now,
No, that's yes.
okay, so Armando sees his painting. Yay! All right, so Armando,
Mhm.
I want you to tell us, one, what do you think you're painting now? And two, what was it that you thought you did well with? And what parts did you have difficulty with?
What? Say again?
I want you to tell the people who are here,
Uh-huh.
okay, what parts did you think that you did really well? Which parts are you really happy with? And which parts of the painting did you, feel like you struggled with? That were very
Well,
difficult for you.
the background, because in the real original picture of that tree in the background is kind of open, like the sky.
Mhm.
So those three that I put behind, and then that dark spot on the bottom.
And is that what you had trouble with, or is that something that
No, I
thought
don't
you
know
did well?
I don't know why I put it there. So I was
You don't know
looking
why you put what there? The big tree?
the tree behind the big tree, those
Oh,
trees, and the dark part on the bottom. I don't know why I put it there.
you don't know why you put it there?
No.
Hmm.
The original picture on the back is just the sky and a few shrubbery on the bottom. That's it. But on the back was supposed to be totally clear.
Hmm. Well, let's say that you had done that. Okay, let's say that you did not put the trees
Yeah.
behind it,
The
right?
other thing you give me trouble is the body. You fix a little bit of the body of the girl.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. But let's go back to the tree issue. So if you did not put the other trees behind the tree that's in the foreground,
Mm-hmm.
would it just be sky?
Yeah, sky, and then the bottom was just like a few shrubbery,
Mm-hmm.
few bushes on the bottom, but no
Okay.
dark, real clear.
Okay. Well, okay. Um, do you have a problem with it being as dark as it is down there?
I'm gonna leave it like it is now. Yeah. No.
Okay. Personally, I think it kind of needs to be dark under there.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, because if it were not dark,
Mm-hmm.
the actual tree trunk, right, of the main tree
Uh-huh.
and the figure wouldn't really show up very well.
Oh.
So, it definitely, the background sits in the background, and the big tree is kind of in the middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
And actually the tree, the squirrel, and her are all really in the middle ground.
Mm.
And then the rock wall and below is kind of in the foreground. And so to me, I think all three work pretty well, with where they're at. And I don't really have a problem with, the darker colors, along the tree line, because, it feels like they're in shade, which a lot of them would be. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything to the painting that you think maybe you could make better or would want to change at this point?
No, I don't want to change it, but the whole thing I wish would better, but well, that's
Yeah, but how?
I can go by now, right now.
How would Armando make it better? That's the question.
I don't know how to say it. I don't know.
You don't have any ideas?
No.
Okay.
I
Well,
think overall, it's really pretty good, Armando. I get a sense of distance, that the trees are in the background and the other tree, the main tree and the figure in the foreground. So I think it's pretty good.
mhm.
Thanks.
Susan, you got any input on that one?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a great picture here. So, I love the tree.
Yeah, it is kind of a nice tree, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The only comment I would have, Armando, to any of this, is you could have left the trees in the background alone. And the fact is, when I look at the trees in the background and I look at the tree that's in front of them, you actually did a really good job at mixing your color so that the trees that are behind the big oak tree actually move backward because the color is less intense. Okay. It's about the same value, but the intensity is just a little bit lower in all of those. And so that really helps that, the oak tree move forward. Okay.
Yeah.
So all of your color and the way you're mixing your color is all really pretty good, and it helps you kind of create this illusion of depth and space. Okay. And it's not like real deep space, but it's deep enough and it's believable. You could be standing in a field and looking at a tree line and an oak tree that's closer to you, and you would see something very similar, to what you painted. So, I think you did a really good job on that. The only comment I would make, as far as if there was something that you could do different that I think would make the painting better, it would be that oak tree. And nothing really about the way you painted it. The way you painted it is fine, but it being an oak tree, and in scale to her, that oak tree would be going off the top of the canvas. See?
So it could be a little bit bigger.
I know, it would be a lot bigger.
And taller.
Yeah, because look, she's only, she's probably like, less than 6 feet tall. She could be an exceptionally tall model. But if that's the case, okay, and let's say that she is 6 feet, okay?
What about if we make her smaller?
Well, we could make her smaller, but you see that whole tree would only be about maybe 15 feet tall. And oak trees generally are 60, 70, 80 feet tall. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, and I'm not saying change anything about the painting. I just want you to learn from this. Okay. And if you were to paint something like this again, then keep in mind where you're placing that tree and the things you're placing around it, and think about the scale, of the tree to the person or the squirrel or whatever, else you're putting in there. And try to make it feel appropriate, right? Because, this oak tree only being 15 foot tall, I don't know. Have you ever seen a 15-foot tall oak tree?
Yeah,
When they're- Pardon?
a baby tree.
Right. Yeah. And you'll notice, when they're that size, the trunk is pretty skinny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they look more like a weed or whatever than a real oak tree until they get pretty good size, right? Because they're really thin and then not really a lot of leaves, even when it's midsummer. There's some on it, but they don't have that many branches and things yet. And so again, the scale of her to the tree, the size of the tree, it's going to be a fairly young tree. So it's not going to have this big, massive trunk on it. Now, if you made the tree like 4 times taller or 5 times taller than what you've got on that canvas right now, then it would be kind of in scale with her. And it would look like and feel like an oak tree, right?
Mhm.
So again, it goes back to that idea of proportion. Okay. And just think about the proportions of one thing to another. All right.
All right. Thank you.
I just put my finger covering up the little pathway riser, whatever that little wall is.
Uh-huh.
And seems to me if you cover up that wall right below her, it brings her forward and it looks a little more in proportion.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing that. Not really.
Not really? Okay,
Not really.
let's
Yeah.
get my cataracts.
Yeah. Yeah, for her to be much closer to us, if we dropped her down in the composition or we lengthened her legs, say her feet ended where the wall was, right? Okay, then that changes her scale and she's much closer to us, and then the tree is further away. And that gives us some distance in there in the picture plane to say that she's really much closer to us. But yeah, where he's got her position now, she's not all that far from the tree. She's probably less than, let's say, 10 to 15 feet. Right. And so again, yeah, the scale doesn't quite work yet. But Armando, that's a really kind of picky little thing. I mean, it's important, right? But I want you to just keep in mind the things that you did get right on this, which is, your color mixing, overall composition, and just, handling, creating shapes and things like that, and controlling your values. You did good. Okay. So don't think I'm saying anything really bad about your painting. Okay. But yeah, I think you did a good job. Anybody else before we go?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I do too. I was very happy to see Armando take that on, because it's not really all that easy, actually. In fact, there's a lot of stuff to figure out in that. So, all right. Anyway, so moving on. Mr. John Gigliotti.
Yes.
And a guy in a sombrero. Okay.
Yes.
So what's that about?
Well, we were talking about the water soluble graphite, and I told you I had seen it on Amazon, so I ordered it and watched a little video on YouTube and attempted to do something using that medium.
Mhm.
I actually traced the figure because it had a lot of shadow and contrast, so I thought it'd be a good one to try.
Mhm.
And so this is my first attempt at using the water soluble, and it's different to work with.
Yeah, it would be. It would be a little bit different to work with. Let me ask you this. Okay, so how did you start working? Did you wet your paper first and then draw into it while it was wet? Or did you stand
No,
dry
I
and then
didn't,
add water?
I did not, I sort of worked backward than I normally would in watercolor. I started with the darks, the darkest darks.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the darks around the right side of the body and under the left arm and face and the
Right.
sombrero.
Right.
And then I tried to get the medium tones and leave the paper for white. I did find out you cannot, once it's wet and dried, you cannot come in with an eraser for highlights. Once it's wet and dried, it's pretty permanent.
Mm.
And I found that the amount of water that is on your brush, how full or how heavy the water is on the brush, made a big difference too. So I could get with a little bit less water, I can get a finer line, and then when the brush was full of water, I got more of a wash look.
Mhm.
So it was sort of a learning and experimentation, and then the background I actually put in afterwards. I tried to rub it, but once I had wet it, I couldn't rub it.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to rub it until it's totally dry, and then you
Oh,
can
okay.
go back and do that. Okay. And one of the things about working with that water soluble graphite, it's a lot like working with watercolor
Yes,
in the sense that the timing aspect, when you do things, and kind of the process you go through. All right, I'm going to do my big washes first, and then I'm going to, define a few shapes and,
right.
try to build up my darks here or there. All of that's kind of important, with this particular media. And I would encourage you to keep playing with it, keep experimenting with it.
Yep.
Usually when I start off with a drawing, a lot of times I will go ahead and wet my paper if I'm going to work, really like a watercolor. And then I'll draw directly on the wet paper, and fairly lightly at first, just to kind of establish the layout.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I find about doing that is as you put the marks down, they diffuse,
Right,
and
right.
lighten. So, they act as a landmark. And then I'll continue building up the drawing. And normally, once I wet the paper, it'll stay wet for about a half hour.
Yeah.
And then by about the half hour mark, the paper begins to dry out. And the marks begin to be sharper and more permanent. And which to me seems to work out really well, because by that time, I've already kind of figured out, the overall shapes and proportions, and I'm just beginning to work on values or some level of like suggested detail, for example.
Yeah, well, I did almost the same thing. I did let it dry a little bit, then so when I went back with it dry, I did like the vest closure with the buttons and that. I didn't use water. I just used the graphite direct on there.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want it to diffuse or blend in or anything. I just wanted a sharp line.
Yeah.
So that worked out.
Yeah. And again, that's kind of, when I start working on this stuff and it's wet, what I'm really looking for is I'm not looking for outlines. Because if you put an outline down, it's going to just get fuzzy and,
Right.
look like it needs a shave in the morning or something, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to hold, because
Right.
it's just going to diffuse into the paper. Now, for things that are in the distance or middle ground, that actually works really well, because it does automatically soften them. And so I always kind of build up, my values and proportions and shapes first. And then once, that paper gets to maybe that 30-minute mark or whatever, and it's beginning to dry out, that's when I'll put my final statement, as a line. If I'm going to use lines, then that's kind of where I would use them, is toward the end and not at the beginning. Okay.
Yeah, I sort of had fun doing it, and I was actually sort of pleased for my first attempt.
Yeah, I think you did a great job. And in particular, I like how you push the female figure into the background.
Right.
Yeah, by keeping the contrast, kind of in that middle value range.
Right.
And yeah, overall, I think it worked out really, really well for you. Okay. And now, how big is this? This is
9 by 12.
Oh, okay. Well, one thing I want you to do is I want you to keep playing with this, and try different subjects.
Yeah, I want to try. I want to try a landscape next with it.
Okay. Now, I will tell you one thing about this. Okay. I don't agree with you about the erasing part. Okay.
Okay.
It will erase. It doesn't erase as completely as, say, just regular graphite. Okay. Once it's wet. Now, if you put it on dry and you haven't wet it, you can erase it.
Yeah, dry. Yes, before we wet it.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you need to erase something, that basically means that you have to dry the paper thoroughly, and then you can go back in and work with an eraser.
Okay.
And if I were going to work with an eraser on a drawing with this medium, I would use one of those architect erasers, the electric erasers. And that seems to do a pretty thorough job of erasing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I tried like a regular rubber eraser, and I tried the kneadable. I tried both.
Yeah. Yeah. And neither of them are going to get you very far, as if there's any moisture.
Right.
Yeah. If there's any moisture in the paper whatsoever,
right,
it's not going to lift. But, like maybe try it today or tomorrow, when the paper is like really dry, and just try a little area and see if you can't lift it. And I think you'll find that now, if the paper's thoroughly dry, you'll be able to do that.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, that was your experimental drawing, and I'm glad you tried that, because it's a good medium to work with.
It was fun. I'd say it.
Yeah. Now, this is what, charcoal?
No, it's graphite.
Oh, this is graphite as well. Okay.
And
Now,
regular graphite pencil from the class.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So the assignment, or what
I don't. Yeah, I think I missed the assignment.
Well, not totally. No, you didn't. Okay. You got the concept. You got the idea of it, which is good. All I basically wanted to do is force you guys to begin to look at the human figure, and then figuring out, how shapes overlap each other to push things forward or back, right? And also think of them as a form, not just a flat shape.
Yeah, and that's where I think I missed directed.
Right.
Yeah, I did it just a plain flat shape. I didn't give any dimension or sides to the shape.
Yes, and that's and that's exactly what you did, and you're absolutely 100% right. Okay, so you didn't get that part of it. Okay, but you did get looking at the figure and breaking it into just simple rectilinear shapes, and then overlapping those shapes and how you place them, and how that pushes things forward or backward. Now, in looking at this particular drawing and knowing the reference that we used, I think you were pretty successful at actually getting that arm to move forward and have the shoulder area kind of block that chest area down below and the hips down, back behind it. So when I look at this overall, okay, I get this sense of one thing in front of another. Okay, now, did you create any great depth in here? Not quite. Okay, but you got close and you got the general concept of it. Okay, so good job on that. Okay, did you use value to show that this is that these in fact are not just flat shapes? No, you didn't do that. Okay, right. But again, for your first time jumping in trying something like this, you did a pretty good job of figuring it out, and you'll get better as time goes on.
Okay.
Right? Well, and this is a useful tool. This is what is commonly referred to as constructive anatomy. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of animators and people who are doing work like comic book artists and things, and they want to show movement, and they want to understand more or less what's going on with those forms and those shapes that make up the human body. They rely on stuff like this all the time. I mean, constantly. It's like everything has to start off with kind of a simplified, rectilinear shaped rendition of a human body. And it's a good skill to have. Okay. Now, the only place that you're really falling short on this, John, is the fact that, okay, we were supposed to try to make them three-dimensional,
right,
by finding not just the overall shape, but what, where the side and the front planes are.
Yes.
And then breaking them up and separating them by value. Okay. So a generally a darker value for anything in shadow, and the white of the paper for anything that was in any kind of light. Right.
Right.
So, I mean, honestly, you're not that far off. You're just missing that second part. Yeah?
Yes, I'm missing the assignment.
Well, no, you're not. You're not. You got most of it. Okay. Yeah, it needs a little refining, a little work still, but overall, you did pretty well. And even with this piece right here, okay, I mean, you can tell pretty clearly what's going on. And if you had added values to it, it would begin to feel more three-dimensional. Okay? So again, for your first attempt at something like this, I don't have a lot of complaints. Okay. You did okay.
All right.
All right. So and then this is your watercolor.
Right.
Okay. All right.
That is the same one I turned in last week with all the trees the same intensity and value.
Right. Yeah. And this has improved quite a bit. See?
Yes.
Because that one tree, to the right in the foreground is really pulling forward close to us. And then the rest of it is sort of sitting, deeper and deeper in space and getting softer as it goes back, which is what you would expect to see in a landscape. Okay. So
yeah.
I don't know. Anybody got any comments? Armando, Susan? Do I need to make it bigger? Armando, are you off getting a sandwich?
I think that's it. I think Armand is off getting a sandwich.
Yeah, I think so too. You gotta watch that boy. You know?
Yeah,
At any rate. You got any comments, Susan?
Listening,
Um,
I can hear your voice all over my apartment.
I like the primary tree,
Mhm.
the first one. I think that's, the others just seem a little lost to me, but,
Okay. Well, last week, and I don't think you were here last week, the
I-
trees, yeah, the trees
was-
both on the left and the right side of the bank were all kind of equal in darkness, and none of them really receded. You know, they were all kind of in the middle ground. And even his tree in the foreground was kind of the same. So there wasn't really a lot of separation last week. This week, quite a bit more. And so the trees behind the tree to the right do actually sit behind it. And the contrast in value is actually really good, I think. And you see how, as you go down the river on that side, how they get even lighter and kind of softer. So you get a really nice transition in, you know, in distance, really from like this point where the trees end to up here where this tree is almost right in their face. And the way that he laid in the color and things actually worked really pretty well. So, but that's just me. Armando, you got anything to say about this?
No, that's the
come?
one that, yeah, I remember that he showed it last week, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So you looked at it last week. What are your thoughts? Do you think it got better?
a little bit better, yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think it got quite a bit better. Okay. Because now it's like I have a very definite focal point. Okay. And my eye knows exactly where to go, which is this tree up in the front. And then everything else back behind it is just kind of supporting actors. So
Mhm.
they're working pretty well. Okay. Anyhow. So I hate to tell you guys this, but that's it. That's all the work that was turned in this week.
Okay,
Okay.
except the one I just sent.
they are cooking.
Yeah. Well,
Except the one I sent.
yeah, I've got to go get that right now so that we can talk about it. Aha,
I
there we go.
I don't did it too well.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm sitting here looking at them, Susan. They don't look that bad. Okay. You know, let's do a save image as, and then let's put your name on it. See, you need to learn how
Oh,
to label your
Yeah,
artwork.
okay. My daughter is, she's an artist too, and she's like, she never puts her name on anything, so she kind of taught me how to do that. But I used to put my name on everything before, but I stopped because of her.
Okay. Well, yeah. For our class purposes, it helps if you have your name on it, and that way I know, once I download it and it's sitting there on the desktop, but I mean, then I know, oh, okay, that's Susan's piece or that's John's piece, rather than, some string of numbers that's like, I wonder who sent that.
Yeah, I'll start putting my name on.
That would be
I'll
nice.
try to. Okay.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So let's put it on the desktop and save it. Okay. Yay. All right. Now let's All right, see if we can reduce that. And I can get back to, all right, so let's stop sharing there. And then let's share Susan's piece. Ah, no, okay. That's not gonna work. All right, hang on one second. I gotta move some things around. Yeah, let's not do that now. Move that out of the way. Move melee out of the way. Close that window. And open up Susan. There we go. All right. Good. Now we're back on that screen. See? It's fun. You gotta dig around here and find things. There we go. All right. So everybody see 3 drawings on a kind of a tan page.
Yep.
Okay. I think it's only tan because of the light that she shot it in. Okay, but here's her 3 figures that we were doing on Friday, right?
Oh yes, I remember that we were doing a kind of geometric.
Yes.
Yes.
How about that? Okay. So let's start over here with the guy. And I'm going to blow these up. Well, okay. There we go. All right. So the assignment was to break those poses up into just simple geometric shapes. Okay. And then add value so that it's not just a flat 2-dimensional form, but it actually has, planes, front plane, side plane, back plane, whatever. And in looking at this, okay, Susan, you did pretty well with it. Okay. You saw, where to begin to break these shapes up, and you made them into rectilinear forms. Okay. Kind of blocks, right? And that was half of the assignment. The other half was to add some value to it so that those were not just flat shapes. And did you do that? Yes, you did. Okay. Now, there's a couple of things, like here at the hip and the leg. See, you could have treated the hip as a separate shape and then the leg going away as another shape. And so you could have broken those up right there and separated them. You didn't get as much of the shoulder, sitting in front of the hip in this drawing as maybe what we saw. But again, you got the general concept, okay? And I'm happy with that. That's a good beginning. Okay. We'll keep working.
Okay.
All right. So then we have your standing figure, right? And she was standing there at the window and she had this drapery wrapped around her. Okay. And now you didn't really have to put in any features on the face. But you found a dark value for the hair. You put a shadow along one plane of the face, and then the other was in light, and that's where the eyes and the nose, the front plane of the face, that's where all the features were. Okay. And so you could have left out those 2 eyes and you would have been fine. But, moving on through the figure itself, okay, you've got a pretty good representation of what the figure is doing. And so, yeah, again, I think you did okay with this. The seated figure here in the bottom. Again, you simplified it down. You're missing a couple of intersections, like here at the shoulder. So you could have divided that where it's just that upper muscle that we call the deltoid. And then you had two more parts, right? You had the upper arm, which went down to the elbow, which is where you could separate it again. And then you'd have the forearm, and you separated out the hand, and that's fine. But it's finding that, you know, that this is actually three parts right here. The deltoid,
Okay.
the upper arm, and the lower arm. And then you see, you would have gotten one shape sitting in front of another that way by just breaking those up, okay? So,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So overall, I think you did great. Okay, good job.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, how about that? See?
Yeah, I'm surprised. Okay.
Yeah, well, don't be too surprised, you know. You've actually been doing really well with your drawing, and I'm glad to see that. So are you, you know, like practicing on doing other things, or are you just doing drawing during the class?
I'm kind of doodling, but I'm not really, I really haven't done anything to send. I guess I probably need to
Mm-hmm.
start working on to send.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you know,
Okay.
nobody's asking you to do finished drawings. Okay. What I'm asking you to do is do a little bit of drawing every day. And even if it's
Yeah.
doodling is perfectly fine. You know, um, doodling again, you know, doesn't matter, you know, as long as you do it for like 5 minutes and, you know, you're looking at something, you know, and you're trying to draw it. It doesn't have to end up being a great drawing, but cumulatively, the idea is that over time, you know, as you keep doing this, your skills are going to get better because you're beginning to figure things out. You're beginning how to learn how to use the tool, and your hand, just the muscle memory and the exercise of doing that is going to make it much easier for you to draw and much more confident. And that's, you know, that's the whole goal of why I want you to draw every day. Okay. It doesn't
Okay.
have to be, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. It doesn't have to be a masterful drawing. You know, it's just 5 minutes of practice. Okay.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
all we're asking for. All right. So, all right. So yeah, you guys did good. Thank you for sending things in. That's you know, saw some good stuff today. All right. I am going to share with you two more things. Okay. I'm going to go back to the original group of pieces because I put some things in there, and I wanted to share with you, you know, things that I'm working on, and you know, maybe give you the idea that, you know, not everything always works out quite the way you want. You know, even if you've been doing it for a long time, you know.
This is a nice.
Well, this is it's hard to tell how big this canvas is, but it's actually a 30 by 40 canvas, so it's pretty good size. And this is looking down the hill, you know, off of my back deck. Okay, and it's just roughed in right now. And yeah, so this is a new painting that I'm starting.
Which one deck? Because you have two decks now. The one here in Smyrna.
Well, this is in Smyrna.
Cali.
Yeah, this is in Smyrna.
Oh.
Okay. So this is off the back deck in Smyrna. Okay. And here's a little closer look at just the painting instead of
So
the
you don't have, in Smyrna, you don't have nobody behind your house.
No, not directly.
Oh, that's good.
No. No. There's some trees back there. You know, and there's a
Is a creek behind? Oh,
no, I'm up on a hill.
oh.
Yeah, the river is out in front of me. But I have a woodchuck as a neighbor. You know, he's probably about a 12-pound, 15-pound woodchuck. He's pretty good size. He's living under my driveway. He's got a big burrow, he or she. Yeah. So I'll
What is
go
that?
have a cup of coffee in the morning, sit on the back porch, and at that time, he or she is out running around, eating some of the vegetation in the yard.
Oh, it's a bird.
No, it's not a bird. It's a big mammal. It looks kind of like a beaver, but
Oh,
it's
I'm not familiar with that. Okay.
well, they call them woodchucks or muskrats.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're really the same thing. So, at any rate, but that's in Alabama. This is in Smyrna.
Smart.
Yeah. And what I'm really trying to get is I'm trying to get the sense of the hillside here coming, being closer to us, and then it falling off and going down to the bottom where the creek runs, and then the ridge back behind that. So I've got a lot of work to do on that one. But, for, just getting some color on the canvas, think maybe I've got about 2 hours into this so far. It's a good start. So
At this stage, it's almost, I don't know if it's abstract or impressionistic, but it gives me that sense.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very, very simplified right now. So the other thing I wanted to show you was this. When I was up in Alexandria, I had started a painting of my daughter. And it wasn't a bad start, but there was something, she just kind of felt like she was short and kind of fat. And so the proportions were off on her. So I got out a bigger canvas, and this is a 16 by 20. And I started the painting again. So this is just kind of the block in, or just kind of the layout, just trying to figure out where she would be, where the, cushions on the couch and things would be, the plant behind her, the picture frame. And so, again, I just kind of roughed that out, sketched out pretty quickly. And then I started actually putting color on it. And so that's where it is right now. And it's just kind of, actually, it's a little further along than that. But it's mainly just blocked in. And I'm much happier with her proportion and just the overall composition of it so far. So that's something I'm still working on. Okay. And then, like John, I was playing with one of those water soluble pencils. Okay. And this is just a little study that I did. This was from a painting by a pre-Raphaelite artist by the name of John Millay. And this is one of the characters. This is Ophelia. And so, I just tried to figure out, what the movement and stuff was in that, of the figure in the boat. And again, just simplify the shapes for right now and figure out what's really going on with the anatomy. And then I did a little bit of a study of the head and face. And again, that's probably, the head's probably about like 3 to 4 inches tall. This head right here. And again, it's with one of those water soluble pencils, right?
But you didn't use any water though, did you?
No, this is on bond paper. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't want to get it soaking
Right.
wet.
Yeah, no, yeah, right, not a good idea.
Yeah, I could have a huge mess on my hands here.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I just mainly kind of wanted to study the character and, just get a sense of what he was trying to do there. Again, this is another drawing I did. And this is, again, same pad, bond paper, same pencil. Okay. But just, building up the values. and using it as a dry media. And, you know, so just getting a sense of, you know, what you can do with it. This is another head study from another model. And the head was at a very weird angle because her head was tipped over to the side. And so again, you know, just conceptually trying to do some quick sketches and figure out what's going on there, you know, and then doing a little bit more finished drawing from there. Same model, you know, a little bit longer drawing, you know, full figure. And then again, the same model there. You know, in a different pose. So, and those are probably like 20-minute drawings each. Okay.
Now you're just using line variation and not doing any kind of rubbing?
No, I'm actually, you know, going in and softening it with my, you know, either a paper towel or
Yeah.
or my finger.
Oh, you are, okay.
You know, just soften some of them and then working back over and, you know, just building up the value, you know, passage by passage. And this is from Friday. You know, this is the, let me close it so we can see it. You know, this is the male figure. And again, you know, just trying to keep these really simple shapes, you know, but treating them kind of, you know, more rectilinear. And then finding like a top plane and a side plane. Same thing with the leg here, you know, the top plane, the side plane. You know, and all the way through the figure. You know, figuring out where the light and shadow are. You know, there's the woman who was on that incline. So, and again, you know, just try to break things down into kind of more simplified shapes, right? See the arm coming forward. And Susan, this is what I was talking about. See, I broke that into a shape for the deltoid, which is that muscle at the top where the shoulder is. And then the upper arm, and then, you know, that lower arm. And in fact, you know, I kind of broke that lower arm into two parts all on its own. Because from the wrist back, you know, this part kind of is very even and it's about the same size, you know, as you move back to a certain point. And then you start getting all the muscles on the forearm. And what does it do? See, it kind of flares out and gets much bigger, right? So you could almost break that into two separate parts right there. And then you get the back plane of the hand or the top plane of the hand. And then see, I broke the fingers down into separate joints. See, and different planes kind of moving together real quick. I didn't do the same thing with the toes because I ran it off the edge of the page. And then here's the other figure. And that's that standing figure that was standing in front of the window. And again, you know, just figuring out where the, you know, where the planes break, you know, and what the shapes and the forms are. So like across the torso, you know, light's coming in. So it's really hitting this whole side pretty directly. And then it's hitting parts of the abdomen that are sticking further out. But between there's a value, see, that sits in there. And then you get to where the core shadow is and the other sort of almost one half of the body that's in total shadow, right? And so I lay that shape in. Down the leg, that whole lower leg is in shadow. So I just, you know, made it that way. What was that, Armando?
Yeah, see somebody else show up. You're fine now.
Gene did.
Oh, Miss Jean. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Gene snuck in on us.
Yeah, I just got back.
Yep. So,
You got your bird ready, Miss Jean?
Do what?
You got the bird ready.
your bird, your turkey for Thanksgiving.
Oh, I'm not cooking the bird. I'm only making appetizers this
That's right.
time.
Yes. Yes.
My son is smoking the bird.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, my brother is doing, what's he doing? He's doing it on the barbecue. Oh no, he's deep frying the turkey this year.
It's good when you deep fry, yes.
Yeah, I've actually never had it deep fried, but he
I never have either. It's supposed to be pretty good.
yeah, well he got a brand new toy. He got a big air
It
deep
is
fryer.
good.
Yeah. So he's gonna do it in the air deep fryer.
Oh,
Wow.
that's different.
So we'll see what that's like. I don't know. I've never had it. Yeah.
I'm not crazy about those deep fry oven. Everything that you cook in there dry out.
Does it?
Yeah, I don't know. I had a neighbor who got those, and she cooked the steak in there, and it's nah.
Well, it's like anything else. It's all about the timing and not overcooking it. You know. So you gotta learn how to play with that toy. Right. I'm sure you could probably make some pretty decent stuff out of it. You just have to, figure out how. Anyway, so that's everything I had. Anybody got anything else that they want to share or talk about?
Mm-mm.
No. I showed you that drawing, that little study that I did of John Millay's work, right?
Yes, yes.
Anybody familiar with him as an artist?
No.
No. Anybody familiar with a group of artists? They called themselves the Pre-Raphaelites.
Mm-mm.
No.
I don't think I've heard that term either.
Okay. Well, it was the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, and this was this was a little bit before the French Impressionists kicked in and started. Okay, but instead of being in France, this group was in England. Okay, and William Morris, who was sort of the father of the arts and crafts movement, he was a pre-Raphaelite, or became a pre-Raphaelite. But it was a group of younger students who were at the Academy in London. And just like the Impressionists, they were trying to put themselves on the map as an art movement. And that's actually where the Impressionists got the idea of grouping together and starting an art movement, because they were fairly successful, and started showing stuff. In fact, the Impressionists actually got a lot of their ideas from the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. But the Pre-Raphaelites were not just painters. They were painters, designers, writers, poets. They covered the gamut of all kinds of creative people. Anyway, but it's the painters that we, mainly remember. Okay. And there was a guy by the name of John Ruskin. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard his name because I've mentioned him in the past, right? Ruskin was mainly a critic and a writer. Anyway, the Pre-Raphaelites, their whole idea was get Ruskin's attention, and get him to write about them. And that helped promote their art movement and their art, okay? So I'm going to share with you a little bit of the work that the Pre-Raphaelites did. before we go away today. And I think you'll like this stuff. It's beautiful. Artists like John Waterhouse,
All right.
or no, I'm sorry, William Waterhouse, and then of course there's Malay, and there's also this woman right here. Okay, and this is Elizabeth Seidel. Okay,
Mm.
Elizabeth Eleanor Seidel was her name. She is probably the most painted human being of all time. Now she, basically the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, one of them came across her and was so enamored with her look, because she had this, long red hair and very pale, very fair skin. And he thought that she was like the ideal perfect model. And so all of the pre-Raphaelites painted her, and she became very famous and very recognizable, in their work. But she had aspirations of doing her own paintings, right? And so she ended up marrying Rossetti, who was one of the pre-Raphaelites. And but before she married him, he began to teach her, how to draw and to paint. And this is one of her paintings. Now she would have been in her early 20s, and she died at 32. Okay. And so this would be somewhere about mid process for her. And this is one of her paintings. And as you can see, even though she didn't have a lot of formal training, she did some beautiful work. And if you will, look at the color, okay, and how she works, how she works the colors together, right? Blues against greens, against yellows, against oranges, and things like that. And keep in mind, this was happening before the Impressionists.
Now, Charles, excuse me. This is what you call it Raphaelite art?
Pre-Raphaelite.
No, because I found Raphaelite art. Okay, pre-Raphaelite art.
Pre-Raphaelite art, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, but my point to you is, look at the technique and look at how she's layering color.
This is when you showed it at first. It looked like colored pencil to me.
Right. But and I believe it's watercolor, actually. I think that's mainly what she worked in, was a water-based media. But keep in mind, see, again, this is before the Impressionists, right? And the Impressionists, what were they doing? They were laying color next to color, to begin to get it to optically blend, right? What is she doing? And this is 15 years before the Impressionists. See?
So this is an old painting.
Well, it predates Impressionism by about 20 years, yeah.
Oh, 20 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, the Impressionists came along. They were like in the 1850s, 1860s, right? Same thing. See more of her work, all right? Now, granted, okay, I mean, in a way, these kind of remind me of, paintings out of the Byzantine era, pre-Renaissance, when you look at the figures and things like that. They very much so have that feel, okay? Now, there's not a lot of her work out there, but these are a few samples of her work. There's actually far, far more paintings of her, right? Like, for example, this one, okay? And let's see, let me lower that so I can. So let's see, this is Henry, Ream is his name. He was one of the pre-Raphaelites as well. Not as well known. But, gee, I wonder who that is posing for him. That's Seidel.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And here's another one of his paintings. Again, who's posing for him? Seidel. So she spent probably far more time, posing as a model, than she ever got painting. Okay. But she also wrote poetry, and let's see, what else did she do? She was a painter. She worked as a seamstress. She did all kinds of things. Okay. But she's in all of their paintings, And they did use other models, other than her. Now this is painted by Millet. And if you haven't taken the time to really look at his work, please do. Okay. He was really, really good with his drawing skills, proportion, but really masterful at values and composition. Really, really understood how to paint something and capture this sense of time during the day or light. And again, this is all pre-Impressionism, okay? Now, he painted in a more traditional process. He didn't use like the little dots or, paint strokes, color next to color. He would mix a color and put down, the color and value. But he understood color really well, and understood how using colors next to each other, would give you an effect. So there she is again. And this is another Millet painting. Here she is again. And another Millet painting. Now, anybody notice that there are ghostly figures there?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
The 1, 2, yeah, 3, the back, yeah.
Yeah, as they kind of fade back. Yeah. Yeah, there's actually more, but but yeah, these are all the spirits,
Is that depicting some literature or?
Yeah, they a lot of their stuff was used for a lot of different books and things like that, at the time that were just coming out, and or theater plays. Again, they moved in circles of a lot of writers and theater people, things like that. Here's Seidel again. So, and again, I think that's by Millet. No, this is Ream. Now, is this? Yeah, this is Millet. And this is a study, just a drawing. And look at the, just look at the technique. See, it's just a lot of, very light kind of fine lines. But he's very intentional about the direction that he's taking those. and see how they kind of move with the form to sort of describe it. They're really not laid down just randomly. I mean, they're fairly well thought out. This is one of his probably more famous paintings. And this painting, it's kind of funny, but it gets accredited to William Waterhouse more than anything else. But it was actually Millais who painted it. But this is probably, one of my, probably one of my top, 15 or 20 paintings. It's the Lady of Shalott or Chalet. Another Millais painting. Not Elizabeth Seidel. Okay. This is a drawing of Millais. Okay.
It looks like a very young and skinny Churchill to me.
Yeah. Notice here, again, his use of line, and he didn't put in a lot of value and tone on this, but notice how he changed the weight and kind of the character of the line, right? To tell you where the light was coming from, where the shadow is, right? So obviously, the front of the face is not the part that's lit up. The light's coming in from the left, hitting the side plane of the face. And all the front plane of the face, or the most of it, is in some sort of shadow. How do you know that? Well, look at the line weight. See? Definitely the lines are stronger and darker on the right-hand side of the face, neck and shoulder, than it is on the left. Okay. So again, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to get all those values and things down if you take your time and you use the line effectively and vary the weight and the value and things, again, to describe what's going on, in with the image that you're viewing. Okay. This is not Millais, is it? Yeah, it is actually. Okay. Looks a little distorted. And this is the Romans leaving Britain.
Mhm.
It's another one of his, fairly famous paintings. And he's got a bunch of them.
Barefooted Roman.
Yeah. Well, the Romans had been driven out, by the what is it? The Danes, which were really, we also refer to them as Vikings. They were flooding in and pushing the Romans out.
Roman and Viking, they were very totally different.
Yeah, very.
The only they had in common, both of them, they were savage.
Well, that's that's hard to say. I wouldn't consider either of them savages. In fact,
And the way how they treat their enemy,
oh,
people who fought against them.
well, anybody who is conquering a big part of the world, they don't necessarily play nice.
Yeah.
That's just one of the tenets of war. You don't, you're not playing nice. You're there to accomplish something. So
The poor British people, they suffered a lot from the Vikings.
well, yeah, from the Vikings, but before the Vikings, it was the Goths and the Visigoths and Before that, it was a lot of nomadic tribes coming, Germanic tribes coming across and settling in Scotland, Ireland, and then infiltrating all the way to the south. The truth be told, there's very, very few people in England who are descended from the original inhabitants that originally lived there. Okay.
Yeah.
Because genetically, they almost don't exist anymore. Probably about the only population really that truly evolved, and their culture and everything was from England proper, were the Welsh. They're about the last strongholds of truly Gaelic society.
Now, for what I read, the only one that could be conquered was the Scottish, because they were mean people.
I'm sorry, what?
They couldn't conquer the Scottish people because the Scottish, they were mean. That's what I read.
Yeah, but where did the Scottish come from?
So it's Scotland.
No. Scotland, basically, yes, there were some indigenous people there, but it was those Germanic tribes who came across to England that, basically they assimilated themselves, and created quote unquote Scottish culture.
Yeah.
The Scotch, the Irish, the Welsh, right?
Because the Roman could not conquer the Scottish. They let them alone.
Yeah, for good reason, because the Scottish and the Vikings were not terribly different from each other. Okay. Yeah, very similar societies and very similar bloodlines, by the way, too. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, another Malays painting. Long and short is the guy did some beautiful work. Okay. And look at the use of color here. You could call that really purple, and then, violet, blue, violet, blue, green. He really knew how to use subtle shifts in temperature. And these are the doves coming back to Noah's Ark. That's what this painting is all about. But he definitely knew how to paint things like hair, fabrics, fur, skin. Excellent painter. So if you ever get a chance to see any of his work, or if you go online and look at a variety of his work, I think you'll be duly impressed. I mean, he was a very good painter. He understood, how to paint something and make it feel credible and right. Girl holding a peacock feather and a broom. Now look at the perspective in this. Now, perspective and the light and all the pattern and texture and things. Now, a woman standing up, stretching her back because she's been, sitting down sewing in front of that window for hours. And that would be Seidel, by the way. . This is another one of his paintings, and again, this one gets attributed to Waterhouse, but it's not. It's Malay. And bar none, I think this is probably one of the most beautiful paintings that anybody's ever painted. Just
Is that the head study we saw earlier?
uh-huh. Yeah,
The head study we saw earlier?
right. Yeah. Yeah, the study was for this painting. And
Yeah.
this is, yeah, Seidel. But very classically painted. You know, very classically painted. Just beautiful transitions in color and skin tone and textures. You know. So if you want to see how to paint, you know, like shrubbery and flowers and stuff like that, here's a good example. I mean, it looks like, you know, a scrubby little tree along the side of a stream or something, doesn't it?
Yep.
And it doesn't feel flat, does it? It feels like it's reaching out for you, you know, doesn't it? It's all coming forward. Wonder how he did that, right?
I don't know. Divine intervention.
You think? Yeah. Look at the moss on the rocks. Okay. Before he gets into the water. Anyway, yeah, amazing stuff. Really
Very
amazing.
nice. Yep. Yep.
So again, he's definitely one of those people that you need to go take a look at. So it would be well worth the time and effort in doing that. Okay. Yeah. Look at the contrast in this. Now we talk about contrast a lot. But you see he's got this kind of dark, stormy looking sky. And then a couple of rainbows. And then you have these buildings that are lit up, you know, from the sun and this whole field. And you look at the scale and proportion of things. See, Armando, like he has oak trees in there that are small, right? But they feel like they're way across the field. See?
Yeah.
And you feel like the field's not flat, but it's actually kind of going uphill, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Wonder how he pulled that off, right? See, to give some actual form and things into that landscape. See, as it goes down the hill, right? And you notice how you've got grass all the way back up this hill, right? To this wall or these rocks. And you look at the grass in here and you look at the grass kind of in here and then right behind, you know, these two girls by the stream.
And there's a road and look like it's some kind of animal.
Well, there's a little creek behind them.
Yeah, no,
there-
but over there on the.
Oh, yeah, back here.
It's a road.
Uh-huh.
A road.
Yeah. And see here, there's a wall and they're sitting on this wall. These stacked rocks and earth, right? To keep the goats and the sheep, you know, from running out onto the road. Of course, it looks like the only thing being herded are these crows out in the field. So,
Mhm.
yeah. But this is supposedly a blind girl. And so I guess she's there with her sister or whatever. But, you know, beautiful painting. And very kind of naturalistic, you know, when you look at the elements like the stones and the wall and really everything about it. You know, it's very, very conscientious about the surfaces and textures of things. Here's another Malay.
That's
And
really,
again,
that's
yeah.
very nice.
yeah, again, you couldn't guess who the model was here. So, yeah. But again, look at the surfaces and, how he rounds the form with the fabric around her figure, her hair, the skin, Look at the temperature difference between, say, the neck and the hand and the face, right? Definitely very warm to a cool. And remember, cool colors tend to recede. And so, he puts this hand in front of it. But again, it's a warmer temperature. So you see he's getting this push and pull, in the painting. Look how the fabric of this arm is darker and more neutral than this arm, pulling all of this forward. See, telling us that it's closer to us and this is further away. See? And at the end of the day, it's all paint. That's
Yes.
all it is. It's just paint, and how he handled it. But, masterfully, masterfully done. So, anyway. So that's kind of the show today.
All right.
Anybody got anything else we need to cover before we go away? Anybody have any thoughts about anything we saw? Like it, don't like it?
I liked it.
Okay.
They were very good.
You want to start, start doing pre-Raphaelite art? You could. It never really went out of fashion, actually. A lot of illustrators actually look at the pre-Raphaelites, for inspiration. Even if they're not doing, like King Arthur and stuff like that, doing science fiction illustration and stuff like that. It's, I mean, it's beautiful the way that, they captured the sense of light and form. And, those lessons never go away. So
No, I to me, I could see the graphic posters and things like at the turn of the century, Sarah Bernhardt and those type of things for the head for theater. You can sort of see that influence.
Yeah. Well, they were before film or photography.
Right, but I'm saying what was out, you could see the influence of this group.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, particularly, and even in literature, when you read like some of the tales from like King Arthur and stuff like that, they all referred back to, Waterhouse and Millais and the pre-Raphaelites, for costumes and settings and things like that. So it became
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, part of our culture. So anyway, all righty. Well, that's all I got. We will be back tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's the last day of class before Thanksgiving. Okay.
Yep.
And what are we going to talk about tomorrow? Trying to remember.
About cooking and decoration.
No. No. Actually, I've got a couple. It's mainly about color and about modifying color, and particularly with using neutrals against intensities. Okay. So I've got a couple of different artists that I'm going to show you tomorrow. We're going to talk about that. Okay.
All right.
Very good.
probably a lesson that everybody needs to be there for, because I know I've said it all before, but you know, I'll try to actually show you a few examples where that works and how it works. Okay.
Very good.
All right, everybody.
Okay, see you all. Have a good evening.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If I don't see you. Okay.